In today's video, we're going to be talking about using the Fujifilm Instax Wide 300. Let's go. The Fujifilm Instax Wide 300 is a point-and-shoot instant film camera using the Instax Wide film, which is my favorite aspect ratio of instant film. The film is equivalent to 800 ISO film, which is a nice change of pace from the less light-sensitive instant film types. On the front, you have a power button and a release shutter, which obviously takes the button and is quite satisfying to use. Additionally, the lens is a 95mm f/14 lens. There are two focusing distances: close-up 0.9 meters to 3 meters and landscape 3 meters to infinity. On the back, you have the rangefinder. Despite being in a slightly confusing place, the rangefinder works great and it's easy to see through. Be warned though, with the rangefinder, the photos will be slightly different than what you're seeing perfectly. Practice makes perfect with these bad boys, and the more you shoot, the more comfortable you'll be. Additionally, the back is the home where the LCD lives and it shows you how many shots are left. The other buttons on the back are for the flash and light compensation respectively. The compensation button makes images either lighter or darker depending on your preference, and the flash toggles the flash on and off. However, if the camera's light meter reads the scene needing a flash, the flash will fire with the shot regardless if you toggle the button or not. For what it's worth, I never ended up using either of these buttons when I shot my test photos, and maybe that's why they didn't turn out great. Just kidding, in most of the other reviews I've seen, they don't use these buttons at all. That being said, I headed out to a local national park near me, shot I think a pack full of test photos after I shot, I think 2 other packs throughout the upcoming week, so I'll throw those photos and footage in right here. Okay, so how do I feel about the camera? First, I want to compare it to my previous instant film cameras I've used. The original Fuji Instax camera, you know, the basic bitch one, the one that every college freshman has, and her room is littered with shitty exposures of her drunk nights out with friends. Okay, sorry, that camera and the SX70. First, compared to the other Instax, the camera works essentially the same, just on a larger, wider format. Compared to the SX70, I think I've had better luck with exposure on this wider, more light-sensitive film, but in all honesty, I haven't had the best experience with instant film in general, SX70 film especially. That being said, I think that this instant film camera has been my favorite so far. It's been by far my favorite aspect ratio. I love the wider look, and I've gotten the most consistent results when shooting it, even though I still haven't gotten that great of luck. Lastly, before I outro, I want to talk about tips that I think would help you shoot it and get the best results. I would encourage you to shoot these outside in broad daylight, or ideally in golden hour or inside with flash on for portraits. Depending on if you like the look of flash, consider indoor or outdoor shots. Also, I would avoid backlit shots that have a large dynamic range. The film doesn't really have the greatest range and will either blow out the highlights or be too underexposed. Ultimately, I think to try to keep in mind that the instant film in general doesn't have a superb dynamic range, so grandiose landscape shots may not be a great idea. I would suggest using this as a day-to-day instant camera, shooting primarily outside during the day, or informal camera to use indoors, taking photos of your cat or girlfriend or something. Ultimately, I think for most people, these instant film cameras lean more into the novelty side of photography. Don't get it wrong, you can certainly rig these up in professional studios and get really great consistent results on these, but that takes lots of practice or equipment that I do not have, and I think that most people probably don't have. That being said, I would never rely on this camera for a specific photo. Rather, I think that they're a fun change of pace that are especially amusing to people who are unfamiliar with film photography. My favorite thing is using it on a shoot and being able to show a model or someone who's not super familiar with film photography, photos of them on the instant film, just because it's cool. Alright, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up for my thoughts. I think at the end of the day, the more you use this camera and the more you practice with it, or if you use it in kind of a controlled, more professional environment, you can get some really, really great looking shots. but I think most of the shots I took were either in too dynamic or in a location that has too many variables going on to get kind of a good consistent exposure out of these. Otherwise, I think that's going to wrap it up. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have ever used this camera. What do you think compared to, let's say, like SX70? I would really love to do kind of a test in the future where I pit the two cameras together to see which one is more consistent, has nicer results, nicer emulsion, and the whole nine. So if that's something that interests you guys, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to do it. Otherwise, make sure you stay up to date with me. I upload Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can stay up to date by hitting the subscribe. Otherwise, until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.